What are old trees? Why don't we have more old trees in our cities today? What does it take to ensure that we have more old trees in our cities in the future? And why do we need old trees in our cities anyway? Now, I think these questions are, of course, not naive when you look at the image right next to them. This is the reality. I'm working in Western Sydney. We're building 360,000 new homes like these until 2030. So that's in the next 5 years. And people will live in these tree deserts. So I don't think asking these questions is naive, because it is really hard to get any trees in there. Now think about how to get old trees in there. There we go, the challenge. These are beautiful Citriodoras on the Parramatta River, probably 120, 150 years old, a wonderful grove. What I suggest is the challenge we really have at the core, and we heard this in a few talks today already, is that we have to transform what I call the human nature connection or relationship. If we don't fundamentally change that, we have no chance of getting more old trees into our cities. That means we proactively need to plan and manage the entire forest, young and old, because otherwise we don't get anywhere towards the old trees, because we lose them all beforehand. Set long-term goals. We heard about forest strategies that people have developed, and I praise them for that, because we see now nearly every council across Australia has a forest strategy, which is fantastic, but look at the time span it covers. 10 years? If you're really good, maybe 20. We're talking about 70 or 80 years, have a forest strategy for 2100. We need to address that, otherwise old trees will never make it into our cities. We of course have to manage the risks. This is where lots of your knowledge comes into play. We need to support these trees while they're aging, and we need to, very importantly, raise the awareness much more of what it means if we don't have the trees. So often, and this is something that I learned in practical work with another local government in Western Sydney, you have to make a full risk assessment. And that full risk assessment is not just what is the risk that this tree poses, but what is the risk if we don't have that tree anymore. We learned this when we asked, what is the risk of having and not having trees planted on roads that are 60k plus, because the standards would say you can only plant trees there 3 meters off the curb. It's okay to have a massive power pole right next to the curb, which is a dead tree basically, but it's not okay to plant a tree that could help us shade that bitumen, which is part of my work where I want to keep cities cooler. And so with this council, we really went into the legal nitty-gritties of what is it that is holding us back. And what are the risks of not having these trees right next to our roads, 60 plus? And we came out that the risk to have them, if you really calculate that, was like 0.0000001% more of a chance that you have an accident, a fatal accident with a car, if you have these trees right next to your street, compared to all the other risks, that you get more heat that builds up in urban environments, that you get less biodiversity, that you don't encourage active transport of people, and what that impact is on the health system, because we deal with obesity and other problems in our city in Western Sydney. So it's this double question really that I encourage everyone to ask. What's the risk of doing something, but also what is it of not doing something?